restorations of stuff, but I found out that almost all of them are fake.
Yeah.
Because they take whatever the item is and you're watching them destroy it. And then I was like, oh. Well, I felt kind of duped because I watched them when I was half asleep.
I always like watching the like dudes build a fucking like pool in the middle of like India.
I don't even care if it's fake.
Yeah, I know for a fact they're fake, and I don't give two fucks.
Fuck.
All right, guys.
Are we back up?
I think we are back up.
It's still loading. Give it a second, but
Yeah, because I can't see the stream.
yeah.
Yeah, I think we unfortunately fucking macked our stream for a second.
All right, I am up. I can see us.
All right.
There's nobody in the chat.
We're back.
Slight technical difficulties. The computer fucking died.
All right, you guys ready to talk about this last song, track number 12? Cocoon?
What a place to end it, honestly.
For real. I gave this a 7.5.
I gave this a 4.5.
I gave it a 7.5.
It's a good outro. That's what it is. The thing that pissed me off, though, is they took the last 45 seconds to isolate the piano instead of the last 15. Stupid. Do the last 15 like everyone else does. They also, I don't know how audible it is on the normal track. You can hear him, like, scoop back his chair.
There's a ton of it. They cranked it up.
Yeah, and you can hear him, like, sniff into the mic.
Yeah.
But the thing is I get that if it's the last take on the album and you, like, sigh because you're done. That is not what this is. This is clearly just another fucking take. And he's just like, all right, next song.
It's like it's almost like they cranked it up.
Yeah,
it's really noticeable because I heard it in both sets of headphones because I checked between both of them.
I would say I had them on and it was just like so fucking present. I was like, okay, this has to be audible like normally.
Mm-hmm. All I really had for this one, because again, this was at the point where we were in setup mode. I'm pretty sure when I finished this song, Carl was here, so
I ruined everything.
No, I kept him
nah, it
busy.
was not your fault. But I thought it was a pretty good way to end this, given that there was zero wind down whatsoever.
Yeah, I will say we definitely got spoiled last week. It really sucks because that whole album was wind down after like track 3.
Yeah.
And so we kind of are just in this spot of like we just listened to a not real pop album. Like Sabrina Carpenter is Sabrina Carpenter pop. And this is how a real pop album's supposed to go. The fact that they even had a like soft song on it in the first place surprises me. Usually I feel like they ride out the vibe the whole way through.
Yeah.
Like just keep it mellow.
My only real problem with this song is did you think that the metaphor was like super duper hokey? I literally wrote, "Is this album for children?" all of a sudden. With the caterpillar becoming a butterfly, I was like, is this going to be some sort of like you're going to grow up to be a good boy or something? Is that what it's going to turn into? I don't know. It kind of felt like it was talking down to me, and I'm not a fan of that when it comes to lyrics. So I think that's part of why my score was so low. Because I did like the chord progression. I like the chromaticism and everything going on.
I think I will defend this song in the lyrical sense of writing lyrics is fucking terribly hard. It's insanely hard sometimes. And sometimes you accidentally latch onto a concept that has been done a bajillion fucking times. I don't know how many. I legit was listening to the radio the other day with my girlfriend, and a song called Bottom of a Bottle came on. And I pulled up a list that I had made from like a year and a half ago of like potential song titles. And that was on there. I was like, I wrote this song already. Like, this exists. And no, it's just like, and like half the lyrics were like real similar to what I had written down. I was like, this is like just so hard to not do.
Yeah, I literally, it sent me back to my childhood because I was like, is he reading The Very Hungry Caterpillar? I mean, and you know, I gave this a lot lower score until we got some of the chord progression, and you know, the piano outro was cool. I liked all that stuff. It came up in score. It was literally just the lyrics that I was like, man, just, I don't know.
Yeah, not everybody can be Father John Misty.
Fuck.
Fuck you, Father John. I hope some priest sees that and gets offended.
I hope one day we get big enough to where we can have Father John Misty on this show, make sure he does not see this episode or the other one. Review that album again just to tell him to his face.
I think it's very likely that one day Father John Misty will be small enough to be on our show.
Fair enough.
You know what? I'll put this out here right now. Father John Misty, if you ever see this and you, for some reason, get roped into a celebrity boxing event and you need an opponent, I, Logan from the Album Book Club, nominate myself as your opponent. We got to be similar size, right? Like, he's got to be around, with the way he's swinging that energy, he's got to be around over 6 foot.
Yeah, I'd say at least 8 inches. I mean, 6 foot.
That guy's packing a millimeter defeater, and we know it. Fucking asshole.
There was a 20-minute song at the end of that album about it, right?
I think so. All right, you guys ready to talk about the pacing? For all my homies of the vintage days, the flow.
No.
I only get flow once a month. Thank you.
I do believe that in 2 weeks we might be able to bring back the flow rating for one time.
I have a feeling that Max is just going to say flow.
Well, that one, I think
That
after
album
listening
does
to it, we
deserve
might be able
Yeah.
to bring flow back for that one.
I did get all the way through that album and then texted Max to make sure he was good. And then he was like, I got to move, homie. And I was like, cool. Damn. All right, for pacing, I gave this a 9 out of 10.
I give this a 6.
I give it an 8.5.
I completely forgot that we only say our thoughts after album overall. It's solid. I mean, there's really not much annoyance other than that stupid out-of-tune interlude that threw me off. But it did what it was supposed to. It just sucks that Bappa was right before it. I think if you move Bappa to off this album, it probably gets like a perfect pacing because it's only a 38-minute album. It's not hard to not get burnt out if you're just like, oh, I'm going to listen to this album. I think it is definitely a background album, though.
It is, but at the same time, it's short, and there's not really enough time in a 38-minute runtime with 2 pseudo interludes to really fuck up a flow that bad, especially in this genre. I mean,
That's true.
I just felt like I rated everything so low I couldn't rate it a lot higher. It wouldn't necessarily be fair. I initially did rate it a little higher. Yeah.
I would say either way. I mean, I feel like if I gave everything on an album a 2, that's pretty consistent for the flow.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it that way, I probably a 7, maybe even a point higher. I would give it an extra point just because it did. The whole album felt really good to a point where at times I was complaining about not being able to tell the difference in tracks. So, that's not necessarily a bad thing. That means your mix is consistent. That means other stuff is
I was
good.
gonna say we've seen it both ways on this show. We've seen people absolutely shit on albums for that alone, but then also the reverse of that.
I will say, I to defend that point, I think there's a way to do it properly and there's a way to do it wrong. And the way to do it properly, the perfect example is that King Gizzard album, the Infinity whatever.
Nonagon Infinity.
Yeah, Nonagon Infinity. Every song is designed to go in and out of one another and be played in any order. And all those songs do sound the same because that's the design of the album.
I was gonna say, I believe that was just one jam session they did.
That is probably very accurate. But that's the way to do it. And we've seen it work Sabrina Carpenter's album, that's the most obvious on our mind. A lot of those songs sound very similar in the right ways, but very different in the right ways too. And then we go back to season 1 where we were complaining about like Belmont, I think even back to episode 1 where a lot of those songs just sounded the exact same because it was a lot of the same key.
So are you trying to think of one that's still up?
Yeah, pretty much. But it's just, I think changing keys is the honest answer. Is a lot of the people who have similar sounding shit are all playing key of G or whatever the hell. Whatever style, pick your key.
With these songs, they all shared a tempo a lot, and they all shared with the exception of the Rain song, they all shared a similar space and vibe within the mix. You don't necessarily have to be in the same key as long as you flow them well.
That's what I'm saying is switching up the key is so much more important. Because, I mean, that's why we shit on country. We love to. But country is so known for the key change. And it's a staple, but it helps make every song feel a little bit different. Because if I start in A and then go to B here and then start the next song in A, well, if I ended the last one in B, you're not going to notice that the next one's in the same key. It's just a very easy in and out of how to get it through that.
Well, and not that I'm trying to make anyone mad, but even young Taylor Swift knew how to use a capo to play the same 3 chords and get different sounds.
Yep.
As much as she evolved as a songwriter, whatever, most of those original songs she knew maybe 5 chords on the guitar, 6 chords, but she had the capo. She could use them. She could move them. Keyboard has a transpose button. You can tune the drums. I mean, if you're so inclined, there's ways to do it.
And if you're a bass guitar player, just ask for the roots of the chord.
That was a generally positive note. I think that's about as all we will allow when mentioning Taylor Swift.
It's very true. Don't make us review her album, please.
Yeah,
we will not. That's off limits. We're fucking terrified.
I was trying to be very, very nice.
She has definitely evolved, but you're completely right. Capo is the lifesaver, and it worked in her favor, and it works in a lot of musicians' favors. And I wish many people would figure that out. Shit, with mastering these days, you don't even need to do that.
You can cheat it, but a lot of times you can hear it.
I just say I've got digital like harmonizers and stuff that are, I mean, not necessarily a cheating way to do it, but if I play a wrong note, it sounds terrible, and I can turn that harmonizer off after. So I don't need to know what I'm doing as long as I can look at the fretboard and go, okay, these spots specifically sound good. You don't need to be a good guitar player to figure that out.
Do you want some random Carl filler?
Oh, yeah.
So the Beatles song "Strawberry Fields Forever" is I don't quote me. I believe it's an A half flat. It may be A half flat minor. Nope, because they recorded one take. If it's an A flat or A half flat, we'll say that they recorded one take in A and another take in A flat, and those were the 2 takes that they liked. So what the engineer literally had to do was speed up and slow down each side of the tape halfway to meet in the middle to make it one coherent track. And if you know where it is, you can hear it. It happens on one word. It cuts and switches to a word, and you can hear the tape speed change if you know what you're listening to in the highs, because you can actually hear the tape machine kind of change the way it is recording.
I know what I'm doing tonight. I'm finding that spot.
I used to know exactly where it is, and don't quote me on the key, but there's interesting things that happen when you haven't chosen a key before you go in, or you make a last minute change and want to use different takes. We can cover that with technology nowadays. We have the technology. We can fix that stuff. But I always say in a studio environment, just advice for anybody that ends up watching this is don't use the studio as a crutch.
Don't give them any pointers. We need them to pay us to do it for them.
Yeah, specifically use the Album Book Club studio as your crutch.
That's leaking the plot a little bit, but covering our bases.
All right, let's talk about this album art. I gave this a 7.5.
I give this a 7.
I gave it an 8.
It's very vibrant. I fuck with it. If I saw this, and it will be on my list to pick up for vinyl. This has joined the currently 2 album list.
If you do, let me know, because I want to hear if the vinyl sounds any different. I want to know if it's the digital masters that are, because I bet the vinyl sounds great, because most of what I heard that I complained about was digital clipping, and all of that stuff sounds awesome when you put it in the analog realm.
Ooh.
But
What are you guys doing this weekend?
No. So when do you want to go?
Sorry, slight digression. I really, really liked this album art because it reminded me of Windows XP.
Oh.
Yep.
I will say, notably have hated like every animation on Apple Music to date. I like this one because it's just clouds moving.
Mm-hmm.
And now that you said Windows XP, this is definitely like exactly that. But it also kind of reminds me of The Sound of Music, which in the bringing ups of Logan, I was very into musicals. The Sound of Music, Grease, and like Singing in the Rain are my top 3. Singing in the Rain is my favorite. But so it's like, I think it just brought a sense of familiarity. And then especially with the sound, I knew what I was getting into with it. Oh, yeah. Very obviously, like you look at this and you're like, this is going to be some like shit. The only thing I wasn't expecting was a great mix. I was truly expecting like a mid mix, but it was really fucking good.
Yeah, and I would definitely say this was a good mix, yeah. But I really did like that too. I liked that the album art gave us that happy vibe. That with the exception of the one track, which was literally about rain, it did. I mean, the album felt like a sunshiny day. I was impressed with that.
We gotta get you listening to Dope Lemon.
Oh shit!
Hey, Dope Lemon, you want to holler at us?
I'm sure we'll reach out first.
Oh yeah, we will. All right.
Is that what we're doing next week? If our other plans fall through, we reviewing Dope Lemon.
We reviewing Pink Cadillac.
I think that's a good idea.
We got 2 copies of the vinyl.
Well, we got to do Pink Cadillac because we can't do.
As you said, we can't show
Can't do
2
the
of the other albums on camera.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk about this overall. If everyone said everything, I gave it an 8 out of 10. It's a fun ass album. It was a great time. I mean, it was the perfect vibe. It was white girl morning, metal boy afternoon, and that's what I did. The mixing and mastering. If I got my hands on it, are there things I would change? Yes. Was it my mix and master? No. That's the big thing. Everything they did stylistically the way they wanted it done, it all worked for them, to their vision. It's seemingly, at least from my perspective, not my choices, but it worked out for them. So
I gave this overall a 5, and it's not because I hated the album. A 5 is super neutral. I just kind of felt like it just was, it just kind of came and then went, and I didn't feel worse afterwards. I didn't hate any of it. The album sounded good, and it might just be me, because to be honest, I've probably heard all the pop music I need to hear in my entire lifetime, and I just feel like there's a better thing for me to be listening to most of the time. I don't tend to turn on this as background music. I tend to turn on like really old instrumental jazz, so that my background music idea is very different than a lot of people. So it nothing offended me. I enjoyed the one listen, but I don't know that I'd go out of my way to do it again, other than maybe just to hear the vinyl to see if the mix gets better.
Yep, I think I ended off on an 8 with this album. It's a great background album, and some of the songs stand out more to be less of background songs, I guess. But just overall, it's a good vibe, especially for today.
yeah, we kind of got honestly blessed with this album today, because it was like a nice, bright, sunny day. The weather was like just a little too much of wanting to go out, and then it like rained. It was
did
great time.
completely 180 after that.
Yeah,
But
it was fucking monsoon. On
I
the
wish
way to
I
dinner.
finished the album in the first half of today.
Thanks, Natalie Shea, for the one quick response time. That was like we had a quick ass response on essentially a plea.
Yeah.
When things don't go to plan at the Album Book Club, we always persevere, and that's a fact.
Somehow.
Yeah,
Fucking somehow.
we've somehow always managed to.
So I found out about this morning. So that's how we persevere.
Yeah, the
There were
text-
like 4 other people that were supposed to be on this episode today.
the text to Carl at like 9 in the morning going, "Hey, we maybe have an album. Can you come?" And he's like, "Yeah, probably." We're like, "Cool."
Actually, if you really think about it, we almost had 8 different people on this album. Or on this episode, not this album, but
Yeah, this album has only had 4 people
Yep.
on it. One of which we had to allow the time to live actual life.
yeah.
Steven, you motherfucker.
He didn't even come back.
He did.
No, I that's why I left the comment. Rip Steven.
All right. Do we have an album for next week, or are we in deciding?
We have no fucking idea. We're in the same boat as this week next week. It's going to be a clusterfuck, and we will let you know about 10 minutes before we hit go live.
All I know is next week is we're actually suited up for a good episode, I will say for certain, based on what's available.
There's a potential for a very interesting episode.
There's a potential for, I think, a very fun episode, and then potential for a real fun for you and I.
We also
people
might do
music.
Dope
So
Lemon. So
that's
we'll
the
see
one
what
I'm
happens.
thinking of. If we do Dope Lemon, I've listened to that album like once a week for the past 2 months.
Who are we getting for that one?
Carl.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right. See y'all.